Welcome to 20 Minutes with Mike, brought to you by Legalese, the ultimate guide on how to survive a law practice. The Chastain Law Office of Gold River, California, and Barking Frogs, the ultimate source for racewag. Go bigger and louder. Now here's your host, Mike Chastain.
And welcome to 20 Minutes with Mike. I'm so excited today. I think we've got a great topic to be talking about. It's valuing your time. So let's get right to it. You know, I've been a lawyer for 35 years, and one would think that as a lawyer, I would have a real appreciation for valuing my time. I mean, as a matter of fact, I actually have a dollar value that I put on my time when I charge clients, a certain dollar value per hour or a dollar value per kind of case. But the truth of the matter is that it's taken me a number of years to really appreciate the value of time. It could be a function of the fact that I've been on this planet for 60 years and I open up the paper and I see, Hank Aaron's died. I see Larry King has died. These guys are older than I am, but, not that much older. And then I see, people who are younger than I am have passed away. So, I recognize that time is finite, at least time on the linear plane that we're dealing with. So, I've begun to have a real appreciation for the value of time. And what I've recognized is that not all time has the same value, right? So, if you're sitting at your office and, the phone hasn't rang for 3 weeks and you haven't brought any new clients and any new money, and you're sitting around trying to figure out how you're going to pay for the rent, and someone will walk into your office and offer to pay you half of your normal hourly rate, you'd probably be pretty inclined to take it. Because you go, I really need the money, and so I'm willing to value my time less. On the other hand, let's say you are super busy, you've got way more work to do than you can do, the phone keeps ringing, you got all these other things going on, and somebody walks into you and says, hey, I want you to take my case. Well, I know for me, I would probably be unwilling to do so unless they were willing to pay a pretty significant premium. And even at that, if I couldn't provide the service, then I just simply wouldn't be able to accept that case. But if I was going to take the case, it would require some sort of premium. The other situation I can think of is, you're about to leave on vacation. You're taking the family to Disneyland or wherever it is that you're going to go. And someone walks into your office and says, hey, I'll pay you 3 times your normal rate for you to cancel your vacation with your family so you can, handle this case or this task or whatever. And the likelihood is, some people would accept that. I probably wouldn't. I probably would say no. There are just certain times where you can't put a price on your time. I just got through listening to a Blinkist and talking about value in your time. I'm just going to diverge here for a second. There's an app called Blinkist, which takes thousands of books and condenses them down into the main points in 15 minutes. And so while I'm driving to court, or I'm going off and doing a task or whatever, I can listen to a book. And these would be books, a lot of times books that I had never even heard of or would never have discovered. And I listened to a book called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. And Bill Perkins argues that when you are considering the value of your time, when you're considering the value of doing certain things, you should consider the value of the memories. And that really made me think of the fact that, back when I was adventure racing and doing it very, very seriously, for example, on my 50th birthday, I flew to Australia to do a 10-day race called the XPD. And the truth of the matter is I closed my office for almost 3 full weeks. because I didn't have anybody else working for me at that time. I closed my office. I turned down virtually every case that would have interfered with that, and I was gone for that entire period of time. And not only was I gone, but you couldn't even get a hold of me. I mean, I was in the outback of Australia, and so the dollar value of that was pretty expensive. It was a very expensive trip. But I will tell you now, 10 years later, because I did that for my 50th birthday. 10 years later, those dollars would have been long gone and spent on whatever. But those memories that I have are priceless. They're something that I can't replace, something that I can enjoy repeatedly over and over. So, what Bill Perkins talks about, and I completely concur, is the value of memory, the value of memories that you have. And he argues that you should, experience things and do things and not simply think about, money in the bank. And I think that that's, really, really good advice. So the point here is that not all time has the same value. Now, what I've done over the years is I've kind of worked out in my own mind that the value of time can be broken down into basically intentional use. So, in other words, what I'm really trying to say is that if you were going to value your time, it's not the value of the time, it's your valuing your time. So, by valuing your time, you're making intentional use of that time, as opposed to, say, just letting it kind of slip away. I mean, how many times have you gone like, where'd the whole day go? I got nothing done, and the day just sort of disappeared. And if you were to really sit back and think about it, well, you spent some time on Facebook, and you were watching TV, and you were just screwing around, surfing the internet, doing whatever it was you were doing. It wasn't intentional use of your time. You weren't really thinking about what you were going to be doing. It just kind of frittered away. And so my suggestion, my argument is that you need to value your time by using your time intentionally. Now, I will say that there are times when you can intentionally waste time, intentionally decide to scroll the internet, intentionally decide to watch television, intentionally decide to, spend time on Facebook. It's not a waste of time if that's what you've decided to do, if you've made an affirmative decision to do that. It would be the difference between wasting time and doing something that you have affirmatively decided to do. Because in and of itself, television is not necessarily a waste of time. It certainly can be. Facebook is not necessarily a waste of time. This show is a great example. Right now, I would argue that if you were watching this is and intentionally watching this, you are making a very wise choice to learn how to value your time better, which ultimately will make you more effective, more efficient, and I think a happier person. So, an intentional use of your time is simply making an affirmative decision that you have made the decision that this is a good use of your time. So it might be meditating, it might be playing the guitar or deciding to play the guitar. These are passions of mine. You can see in my studio here, I'm learning to play the acoustic guitar. I've been playing bass guitar for a number of years. I went out and bought myself a Telecaster because I wanted to give myself the incentive to learn to play the guitar. And I would just say that, if you know anything about guitars, bass and a six-string guitar are very, very different. But there is some crossover, and I'm learning that. And I'm also learning to play the ukulele, because for me, a really valuable use of time is playing music, learning to play music. It gives me a great deal of joy. It is something, that is very creative and something that I really, really want to do. So, as I say, watching TV might be a good use of your time. We're going to have the Super Bowl coming up here pretty soon. I don't watch much football. In all honesty, I'm not much of a spectator from that regard, but I do like watching the Super Bowl. Video games. My kids love watching video games, and I have to be very careful about not getting sucked into them. But from time to time, I do like to pull them out and play. And I find that it's a useful, when I do it affirmatively, it's it's a good use of my time. But here's the next step. So, you've gotten yourself to the point where you're going, okay, I am making affirmative decisions about how I'm going to use my time. This is how you value your time. It's not a dollar amount, but how you're going to value your time. So, when we're talking about dollar amounts, if you're going to sell your time to an employer or a client, then what you need to be thinking is, what is the value of that time, vis-a-vis money. Now, I'm fortunate that I've gotten to the position where I can pay people to do a lot of the things that I might normally do. And, my position is anything that I can pay somebody $10 or $15 an hour to do, it is better. It makes more sense for me to pay someone to do that than it is for me to do it myself. And certainly in a work situation. But let me take you to the next step, because this was the thing that really changed my life in valuing my time. And that is setting up an intention list. Now, that's what I call it. You can call it 100 different things. It's sort of a pre-gratitude list, if you will, or it's a much more much more effective to-do list. So what does a to-do list say, right? Call John, review the Smith case, go to court on, the Johnson matter, write the Jones motion, right? That's what a to-do list typically looks like. What I've done is I've taken that to-do list and I've made it into an intention list, because what I want is, I don't want to just complete the task. What I want is to have the results that I want. So it's not simply, call Mr. Jones. For me, what I would be writing on my intention list, which is essentially replace my to-do list, is, and here's the key: you have to treat it as if it's already occurred. All right. So you treat it as if you've already accomplished the goal. So my intention list would say, thank you for a very effective, calm, and meaningful meeting with Mr. Jones. Let's say the to-do list was court appearance on Mr. Smith. Thank you for a very productive court appearance with Mr. Smith, where I was able to obtain a settlement that was favorable to all parties, and Mr. Smith was extremely pleased. Now, the more detail you put into it, the better it's going to be, because what you're really trying to do is ask yourself, what is the outcome that you truly want? Is it going to court for Mr. Smith? Is it meeting Mr. Jones? No, those are just things that you tick off a list. What you really want is a positive outcome. Let's say, for example, I did this the other day. I was driving down to go see my kids down in Central California, and so on my intention list that day was, thank you for a safe and entertaining drive to go see my kids. Right? Because what did I want to do? I wanted to get there, but I wanted it to be safe. Obviously, I didn't want there to be any mechanical problems or accidents or anything. And I also wanted to be entertaining. So, I put some tapes, an Audible book on or what have you. Let's say you're going to have a conversation with somebody who you're having some, disputes with that's been challenging. Thank you for a calm and stress-free conversation with X, right? Because that's what you want. So the point of valuing your time is not only have you made an affirmative decision of what you were going to do with your time, but that you were also pre-designing the outcome and then manifesting it as if it has already occurred. And there, and I've talked in other forums about the book, The Secret, the art of manifestation, the law of attraction. If you uh, uh, incorporate into your being the outcome, you will attract that outcome. And if nothing else, since I want to have a calm and stress-free conversation with X, I'm going to at least go into it with a calm and a stress-free attitude to give myself at least a shot at having that occur. So, when I talk about valuing your time, what I'm really talking about is using your time effectively, using your time in a way that you will get the outcomes that you want. If you want to make more money, then, on your intention list each day should be, thank you for the abundance that's come into my office. Thank you for the money that's come into my office. Thank you for the new clients that maybe you didn't even expect. Thank you that the telephone is ringing and people want my services because I do a great job. Manifest what it is that you want. That is a really, really good use of your time. You could even think of it as like a pre-gratitude list. So, everybody each day should uh, write, in my opinion, you should be writing down, 10 things that you're grateful for. But at the very least, you should be thinking about things that you're grateful for. And an intention list really is just sort of a pre thing that you have already manifested what it is that you want and that you're grateful for it, by way of intention. This is what I want the outcome to be. So if you're doing a trial or you're making a sales presentation, thank you for the great sales presentation that I gave, in which the client hired me, right, and cut me a giant check. I mean, there's no reason why you can't be really, really detailed about these things, because when you do that, when you're super detailed, you know exactly what you want, and you're much, much, much more likely to get it. And that is the best use of anybody's time, right? Is to go and get exactly what you want each and every day. All right. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, because valuing your time, I think, is one of the most critical things that we can do. And as I get older, I'm 60 years old at this point. As I get older, um, I've come more and more to realize the importance of valuing my time, the importance of actually doing things that get me where I want to go. And not everything needs to be money related. Not everything needs to be, most things shouldn't be money related, but they need to be, what is it that you want to get out of this? Maybe it's just relaxing. Maybe it's just learning a new instrument, whatever. So I'm gonna ask you guys for a favor here. If you have comments, put them in the comment bar. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have questions and there's other topics that you would like me to cover, write them right in there. My book, Legalese: The Ultimate Guide on How to Survive a Law Practice, which is really applicable to virtually any lifestyle. I wrote it as a lawyer for lawyers, but I will tell you what, it'll work. I don't care if you're a barista at Starbucks, you dig a ditch for a living, you climb poles for PG&E. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. The things that are in there are actually useful. And everything that I've been talking about the last few weeks, valuing your time, the 80-20 rule, all of these topics are addressed in my book. So I encourage people to get it. It's available on Amazon, and it's a bargain for sure. And I offer a 100% money back guarantee. If you get that book and you don't find something in there that you can use, then I'll write you a check and give you your money back. I mean, I haven't had to do that yet. I don't believe that I ever will, because there is so much in there that is super useful. So everybody, thank you for joining me. I hope that you have found that this was a very valuable use of your time. Join me every Monday, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, for 20 minutes with Mike. I will keep it to 20 minutes, maybe even a little shorter than that, so that, I am valuing your time. So I wish you all the best. And remember, be grateful for what you have and be willing to work for what you want. All right, everybody, you all have a great time and a great day, and we will See you next week.